So a fascinating trove of material, over 250,000 diplomatic cables sent by the US missions across the world back to Washington, and many of those featuring India over the last 5 years. How do you see these? Do you see these unverified gossip? Do you see these as fascinating insight? Wherever you stand on the story, everybody is talking about it. And joining me tonight on this story, I'm joined by Kazim Ali Khan, BSP MLA. Of course, Mayawati mentioned in the cables as a paranoid dictator. Khushbu from the DMK. Again, the DMK, an insider there mentioned for his views on how Manmohan Singh is a bad candidate. That was before the last elections. Jay Panda of the Biju Janata Dal. Jay Panda, I haven't fished out yet if the cables say anything on Naveen Patnaik or not. I'm also joined by Padma Rao Sundarji of the Spiegel, which is the South Asia Bureau Chief. The Spiegel, of course, one of the worldwide outlets, news outlets, has condemned WikiLeaks releasing these cables uncensored. Thank you all very much for joining me. Kazim Ali Khan, let me go across to you first, because we've seen the US political counselor's views on Mayawati now formed by him speaking to journalists, by him speaking to bureaucrats, by him speaking to people around the Mayawati coterie, but not really in the inner circle. How much would you verify these reports? What would you think of these reports at all?
Well, I feel this is totally the American perception. This is their assessment. And how authentic it is or how not authentic it is, it's a totally different story. But looking at all these things, I think it is totally their perception and it's far from reality. If you look at the past, mostly American assessment has also been wrong. And I don't agree with any of the points that has been mentioned in this tabloid or whatever it is. I mean, and I think that this is a virtual, this is just their interpretation of their own views.
But would you say, Kazim Ali Khan, would you say that these are untrue things about a minister having to do sit-ups because he went to meet the Uttar Pradesh governor without a permission, a private jet going for a shoes? Are these untrue or just delicious gossip?
No, these are all stories. I think I would just rubbish it off because there is no concrete proof about jets being flown between Delhi and Mumbai, and for all these purposes. So I think this is just, I would call it just a fiction, a piece of fiction.
Right, and maybe a side distraction from some of the main content of the cables. But Padma Rao Sundarji, before I go to the rest of political guests, let me bring you in here. How do you see these cables?
I just want to react to
Yes.
I'm shaking my head at Mr. Kazim Ali Khan when he says that these are all rumors. I don't think, and you know, as you said, there's nothing concrete, Mr. Kazim Ali Khan. I can show you plenty of concrete through Lucknow. Huge, big elephants, statues with handbags, built, whether it's built at her own expense or at public expense. The question is, there is a megalomaniacal politician in place there. We all seem to have, a huge amount of forgiveness for people as long as they, maybe she's good at governance. That's a separate issue. But the fact remains that the self-aggrandizement is a trait of Miss Mayawati, which we all know about for very long. So I don't see anything new in the WikiLeaks cables.
Right. In fact, what's interesting is, let me bring in Khushbu here. Khushbu from the DMK. What's interesting is that there's nothing new, but in a way it holds up an outsider's view of our politicians. It's an independent chronicle, and as Julian Assange has said to NDTV and to many outlets, that why would these diplomats have reason to lie? They're sending back what they see as confidential cables to their own bosses. So there may be an attempt to perhaps pretend or kind of self-aggrandize and know more, that they know more than they actually do. But why would they lie or make it up? What's your take on these cables? Just to tell our viewers, one of the DMK cables was of a DMK insider saying that he thinks Manmohan Singh is a bad candidate and he thinks Rahul Gandhi is not ready and Sonia Gandhi will be the best prime ministerial candidate.
I think too many words have been put in by Mr. Julian Assange himself. I really would like to know what is the authenticity of Mr. Julian Assange's words. I mean, is he the Bible of politically secretive language, what they use? I mean, I really rubbish all these issues which is there in WikiLeaks.
Probably Mr. Julian Assange picks up. Man, he's just put it out there uncensored. They aren't his words.
Yeah, he puts it out there uncensored. I mean, you and me cannot go and say whether they're uncensored or they are not. It's his point of view. It's his ideas. That this is where these are the words which were spoken. What I would like to say is absolutely uncalled, where there is a secret. If everything has been put across the public, I don't think we need a democratic society. And I don't think we need to go by whatever the WikiLeaks says, because we have our way of running the governance and the US have their own way. I definitely do not agree with David Hopper. I do not agree with anybody else who has issued comments about my chief, Mr. K. Karunanidhi, or it's about Mr. Rahul Gandhi. It's absolutely uncalled. I definitely do not believe in WikiLeaks. It's just that few issues which we have hitting our headlines every day. He picks up few things here and there, adds up and say, okay, this is what it is and this is WikiLeaks and this is absolutely true. And unfortunately, we live in a society. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people, more than the good news, they're very happy to see a bad news.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone, fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.